Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the How to Attain Enlightenment podcast. My name is Erica Blackbear. As always, I will be your host. In this episode, I'm going to catch you up to speed to where I am currently because this last about year has been absolutely crazy. And so I'm just going to kind of catch you up to speed to where I am right now. In a previous episode, I had mentioned my trip out to California, actually arriving in California. I was at my friend's house for about 2 full years, renting from her, and I was doing very intense internal healing work the whole time I was here. Total hermit mode. If you're familiar with the tarot, I didn't do a whole lot except do my healing work. I could feel myself getting to the end of the work. I'd been on this healing journey for so long, and I could just feel myself getting to the end, and I had to finish. Like, I had to be done with it because I was so tired of dealing with my past. You need to buckle down. I was always doing it, but this was intensive. I didn't do a whole lot of anything else other than work, be with my youngest daughter, and do my healing work. I was also diving further into my meditation and yoga. At this point, I had started my Kundalini yoga journey. I just absolutely love Kundalini yoga. It just resonates with me. It helps my spine. All the little muscles along my spine were getting super strong, and it was amazing. Anyway, so I had mentioned I started my business back in Michigan. And it was a very minimal side gig to me at the time, side hustle. I was just practicing doing sessions for people because I was always doing sessions for myself, I guess you could say, over the years and learning tarot and stuff. But this was the first time that I was doing readings for other people. It helped me as well, but I was also trying to help others as much as I could. So I wasn't getting paid a lot. I was doing by donations. A lot of times I was doing free sessions. This was in Michigan. So when I got to California, I was like, all right, I really need to get this business off the ground. I need to stop door dashing and doing other things that are a distraction on my path. But I didn't at the time see how to be able to stop door dashing other than DoorDash while I'm growing my business. So that's what I did. I was door dashing, and then I was also working really hard on my business. But the first year I was in California, I was doing more sessions and, kind of playing with healing work and doing energy work for people. I was trying to grow my business, but it was a slower process. The second year is when I really hit it hard. So I decided I needed to do something to up level my business. I realized that the sessions for people, I was plateauing. I was getting a lot of repeat customers and word of mouth. That's mainly how I got my clients. But I'm the type of intuitive or healer that puts myself out of business, to be honest, because I do things that help others, and I'm not going to keep them dependent on me. So I do a lot of teaching others how to do what I do. And it's not a real good business model, I'm not going to lie, but that's how I operate. I'm not here to make it so that people have to come back to me to get their healing work done. I want to show people how to do it themselves. I know this is a bad business model, but I'm going to trust. And I was getting the message, okay, yeah, this is a good thing to do. So I started playing around with creating courses. None of the courses really took off. I think I sold a couple, 2 or 3 of my initial course that I created. It's with anything, when you're first creating something, you're learning as you go. After I did that course, I knew how to pare the information down. I kept having new iterations of what I was doing, and it was really helping me to get clear on the knowledge that I have, but also what I'm trying to teach with the knowledge I have. And it was very helpful, but it was not profitable. I didn't make much money off of any of it. So then I was getting frustrated, and I'm trying to grow my Facebook page because that's the main social media that I was using at the time. I tried to branch out into Instagram and stuff like that, but I don't particularly love social media. I find it a waste of time. And so I'm sure that that energy that I'm holding behind it is not helping to create my business. There's a lot of factors that went into this. I wasn't on my direct path like I am now. Like I said, I was doing the DoorDash in order to grow my business, and the business, I was doing that in order to make the money in order to do what I'm actually here to do. So it was like I was removed from my actual path by a couple of degrees, or by 1 degree at the time, but I was more on the path than I had been in the past. I was getting the message this is what I was supposed to be doing. Looking back, I can see that now. At the time, I'm thinking this is the way forward. I mean, I learned so incredibly much about myself. I learned how to speak what I'm trying to teach better, like be more clear about things and more straight to the point, and really honing what I liked to do, the types of messages that I want to bring through, especially early on in the business. I was still working on my healing so much that I was doing more messaging around the quote negative things that happened to me in my life, and that's fine, and it's a very interesting story, and I really overcame quite a bit to get to where I am now, like a fucking lot. But it's not the type of energy that I want to put into the world. I started learning that as I went along. I'm like, okay, this feels like right on. And it did feel right to share my story. So I did start a YouTube channel. I was kind of playing around with different things. Nothing really stuck for the long haul. It was like I was testing out some courses here and there. I'm testing out different types of sessions. I'm doing a lot of like testing, like what do I actually like to do? What are people responding to or not responding to, et cetera, et cetera. So the second year, which would be last year, at my friend's house in California, I was like, okay, I need to do some other things. Like I do journeying, and I've been kind of going through this shamanism course. It's a piecemeal course, so you can take it on your own time and in your own way. It's online, and I was learning how to journey, which is basically a certain type of astral projection. I was doing a lot of journeying and speaking to guides that way, expanding my abilities, basically. I took the second part of a shamanism course earlier last year, and I communicated with some dolphin and whale beings. So between the time that I was about 9 to 15, we took a yearly family vacation for a week or to 2 weeks, depending on the year, in Key West and the Bahamas, swimming with wild dolphins. So I have a very strong connection to dolphin beings. I did it every year. I grew very close to these beings. And I have always felt like it was something that I wanted to add into my work in some way, because working with these creatures is extremely healing and profound and mind-blowing. Like these dolphins are often, people think that they're more intelligent than humans, and I'm not saying that they're more intelligent, but they have a greater awareness, I would say. So I started connecting with them, and it started kind of feeling like I'm supposed to be working with them. So I decide that one of the things I'm going to do with my business last year was do a dolphin retreat, take people for a Kundalini yoga / dolphin retreat. So I reach out to the company that we had gone with as a child and kind of secured that. Let me back up. So last year, I really wanted to level up my business. I need to get this profitable. I need to stop door dashing. I'm splitting my time too much between these two things. I'm working DoorDash, 30 hours a week, which is like full-time door dashing. And then I'm also doing this business, and it's just a lot. Like, it's a lot. Again, I'm burning myself out, but I felt like I was doing it for a reason. I'm going to eventually get profitable. I came across on Facebook this, I guess you could call her a business coach, and she was overseas in Europe. She sold online programs, and one of the things that she was selling was how to create a membership program, a paid membership for your business. And so I was like, okay, this sounds like a good thing. It sounds like something that could work for me. So I bought her program. So I'm paying monthly on her program. I ended up purchasing 3 different programs through her. And I got swept up in this hype around her, to be honest. Her messaging was like, everything I sell is completely different. You get new information with everything I sell and, make your business profitable. And I'm seeing all these customers of hers who their business is profitable. I didn't have the knowledge around growing my social media presence, and I didn't have some of the business knowledge that she seemed to have that I needed. I ended up buying multiple programs from her. So not only is my business not profitable, but I'm spending about $500 a month on her programs. I should have known after adding the second program, but I was just really hopeful and trying to build my business that I shouldn't have bought the third thing from her, because everything had the same information in it. Why am I paying 3 times for the same information? It was packaged slightly differently, but it was essentially the same information. It was very disappointing. I lost a lot of respect, and it felt completely off. The integrity wasn't there, which she seemed fully in integrity when I first came across her. And it was extremely frustrating. And I'm not trying to put her down. I'm sure she's worked for her style, maybe has worked for a lot of other people, but it certainly was not working for me. I was putting in even more time and energy to be able to purchase her courses, and they weren't paying off for me. I was following the guidance and it wasn't sticking, but also it didn't feel in integrity for me. The way that she wanted people to do their things, it didn't feel authentic. I don't want to get too far into that, but I'm just saying this was part of what was going on. So I'm trying to create as many courses as I can. I'm trying to figure out how to create this membership, which is a lot of work to get up and running on the technical side. And you need different platforms for a membership, and it's just a lot. It's a lot. And so I'm trying to learn all these different things and trying to implement them. And it was so much time and energy and work. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to do this dolphin retreat on top of it. I felt like the dolphin retreat was going to be the thing because it was so me, that's 100%. I've always wanted to do that, and so I'm like, okay, this is the thing that's going to really catapult my business. But as I got further in, so I learned a lot about integrity last year. More so, I need to be sure that whoever I'm partnering with in any way is in integrity, because I learned so much about how not all that glitters is gold. There's a lot of people out there that are just, all they're doing is trying to suck money from you, and even if they're saying the right things, you really have to feel underneath the surface. But I again was overworking myself, and when you're overworked, it's harder to get clear messages. Not saying that my intuition was off. I think that everything I did, I was meant to do, and I was meant to understand. And even when I was deciding about doing the dolphin trip, I was getting messages around, basically it didn't matter which way I went with the dolphin trip. If I was going to do it, if I wasn't, I would still end up in the same place. What will bring me joy? And I just thought about how having a dolphin retreat would bring me so much joy to show others how much joy that brings. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't change anything about what happened last year, but I'm just saying it was a lot of stress, a lot of money out the window. I lost a lot of money on the dolphin retreat because I realized early into it that so when I was initially talking to the company about the dolphin retreat, they were saying one thing, and then once I got into the contract, which they never actually had me sign a contract, it was different information. And when I called them on it, they were very forceful and rude and pushy, and it felt so icky to me, and the whole thing just did not. I knew that was not people that I wanted to partner with. I guess it was one person, the person that I was dealing with, but it was so off-putting that I didn't want to work with the company anymore. And this was a company that I had history with. it made me realize so much. Like, I really did learn a lot from those experiences. And I also learned a ton about business. I learned what I will stand for, because I've been coming from a place of almost desperation. Like, oh, I gotta get money. Like, I have to be able to be profitable. I have to take care of my family. Like, desperation. That energy is not going to pull in clients. It's not going to pull in the right partnerships for you. And this isn't just about business, this is about life in general. So it was teaching me so much. I really did learn a lot, but I lost an immense amount of money last year. And I worked so fucking hard for that money. So let me back up. So right about this time, my little Hyundai Accent that I put so many miles on it. It made it to over 200,000 miles. I put like 100,000 miles on it in 2 years. Like, that's how much I drove. It started to do a slow breakdown, is what I call it. It started making noises. I could tell it was on its last leg, but it was still going. And then something was going on with the wheel. I had been getting the message for a long time from my guides, you have to stop door dashing. This isn't in alignment. And I was burning myself out again, and I wasn't listening. I did not listen to my guides around the door dashing because I had a lot of fear. I had been shown multiple times where, like, when I trusted, I was supported, but I still was second guessing myself. I just didn't know how to let that go and trust that I would be supported in releasing that. And so I didn't really listen, and that's when my car started breaking down. Every time I don't listen to my guides, it ends up in a tower moment. If you're familiar with the tarot, a tower moment is when things happen unexpected. You could call them negative things. It's generally something that you don't really want to have happen. But it's really a blessing in disguise, and it takes you to where you need to be. But in the moment, it does not feel good because there's a lot of fear around it if you're not walking into it intentionally. And this is not one of those scenarios. I was not listening to my guides, and I'm pretty sure they were trying to be like, hey, your car's about to break down. Stop door dashing. Plus, I had so many monthly payments, including these 3 different monthly payments to this business coach that I was working with, and all the other website payments, all the different apps and platforms that I had for my business that I was paying for. I was like, I can't just not work. It was very stressful. My car started breaking down, and I had to cut back on door dashing. And I'm like, okay, what can I do to pare down what I'm paying each month, because this is not, I can't do all this. So then it started also percolating in, are you enjoying your business? Are you enjoying what's going on in your business? Oh, let me back up. So in my business, I had also just started a podcast. I was playing around with a podcast. I was doing all these different things. It was an audio only podcast, but I actually really enjoyed the podcast. And I enjoyed making the courses, but not necessarily the topics that I ended up creating. I learned that I like to speak. That's clearly something that is part of my mission, which I had already known, but it just became more evident. The end of last year was this incredibly intense period of time. Let me connect it to some of the other episodes that I've created. So August of last year is when my divine counterpart manifested in my room physically. So that's when I saw him. And then I had the understanding of Coda was going to come back as my human child around September of last year. And so all of this is kind of happening all at once. Okay, so then Coda took himself out. I'm only laughing because me and him just have that connection. I'm not laughing about like suicide or anything, so don't take it that way. It's just the ridiculousness of it. But what I came to understand about his death. So he passed away in early October. And that was very traumatic for me. And I was obviously just heartbroken and torn apart. I mean, like words just don't express what I was going through at that time period. I was just grieving incredibly for him. I could not do anything. I just could not bring myself to do anything for my business. Everything kind of went on hold, which was actually a blessing in disguise because it gave me a second to realize that that was not what I wanted to be doing in that way. October into early November of last year was very difficult. So our Coda passed away. 2 weeks later, I'm at my house. I go outside to use the bathroom. I live in like an unusual, like I mentioned, living situation. I didn't have running water in my house. I did have electricity, but just not running water in the particular structure that I was living in. And so I was like going to the bathroom, and there was like this homeless meth addict that like was on the property, and he gets in between me and my house where my child is sleeping and the door is unlocked. I don't think he knew, and he was clearly and he starts saying, I'm looking for somebody, da 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 da, and he gives me the creeps from the get-go. And he's between me and my front door, but my vehicle is behind me, and so I go into my vehicle, I lock myself in, and I turn my car on and turn the headlights on to have it on him. And I'm like, you need to leave. Those people aren't here. You need to leave the property. This is private property. He would not leave. So that's when I get in the vehicle. I turn it on, and I'm thinking, all right, if he goes towards my front door, I'm going to have to run this person over. There's no way he's getting in by my kid. Like, you know, I'm just mentally preparing myself for this situation. This was very traumatic. It went on for like an hour. He was banging on my car windows, trying to get into my car. Like, it was very intense. And he's in front of my car doing these weird hand gestures, and I saw the meth sores on him, so I knew he was on meth. Obviously, most of us have seen meth addicts. They're very unpredictable, that you just don't know what to expect. So that was very traumatizing in and of itself. Then I get a call from one of my friends / clients who I'd been working with for years. She had cancer, and she was passing away. So this was like a week later, and she told me, okay, I'm going into hospice. This is the end. I want you to come visit me. I couldn't leave right away because she was all the way in Montana. I like get my affairs in order and then head out a couple days later. I am door dashing on the way. Okay, let me back up. Just prior to this, my little vehicle had broken down. I stopped driving it, but it was still drivable, but I knew it wouldn't go far. I could only go like 45 miles an hour. I think there was a wheel bearing that was about to go. You couldn't drive it. My sister ends up with an extra vehicle, and that's a whole different story of how that happened, but that I won't get into. But she ends up with her ex's vehicle who passed away, and she's having to make payments on it, and she also has this Highlander. And so I ask her if I can borrow the Highlander for a little while until everything comes together for me. And she's like, yes. And I think it was like a win-win situation because she already had a lot of other expense. Not only does she have insurance on this other vehicle, but she's making monthly payments because it wasn't paid off. So I take the Highlander. And I'm paying the insurance on it, and there was multiple things that needed to be done on the Highlander, like new tires and alignment and, just things. And so I did all those things. I got it registered in California, just all the things that needed to be done for it. And so I think it was kind of like a win-win situation. I was doing the upkeep on it and the oil changes, etc. So anyway, it turned out to be like a win-win situation. So at this time I had the Highlander. I find out my friend is dying. I get my affairs in order, and me and my daughter go to Montana, and I'm door dashing along the way. We stop in one of the college towns on the way as a good stopping point, and I'm door dashing there to make some money. I have to make a stop at a dorm, and I leave the car running, and I have it in the circle drive, like right in front of the glass doors. I literally have to open the glass door, put the thing down, take a picture, and go back to the vehicle. I'm thinking, it's like a safe area. We're in a college dorm. I literally had my back turned for a second. My kid is sleeping in the car. I come back out, and this college kid is trying to steal my purse off of the front seat in my car. So I go running up, and I'm like yelling. I'm like, hey, hey. And they're drunk. The kids are drunk. This is Halloween. There's multiple people in this area. Not one of them comes to my aid. This dude gets in my face and he's like, well, what are you doing leaving your purse on the front seat with the door unlocked? Like, it was my fault he was doing this. Like, he's in my face screaming at me, and he's very tall. He's probably like 6'4", like a burly dude, maybe a football player. He was huge. And his friends are finally yelling at him like, come on, come on. It was like boom, 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 boom. Like all these traumatic events all in 1 month. My nerves were absolutely shot. Like, my God. I didn't even get the chance to fully grieve my dog because all these different things happened. But I understand now, it was this incredibly intense tower moment. Like, these things were helping me to accelerate in my growth because I realized so many things from the situations I was in. There was so many epiphanies that happened around my friend's passing. There was a whole thing around her passing and understanding that I had allowed her, because I felt sorry for her predicament, that I was allowing her to overstep boundaries for years because she had the cancer and she didn't have like support of people, or that's what she told me. From talking to her daughter, I got a completely different story of what happened. And I mean, I'm connected to dead people, so I already got, like, she knows that I'm telling this story. I'm not speaking bad about her. The point is the understanding of where I was not having boundaries with people. Soon after this, I started looking around my life and looking at each individual relationship I had and realizing the vast majority of them did not belong in my life. I'll get more into that in a minute. So all this happened. Most of the story is not like heavy like this, but it's just, this is to make the point. It was like the universe was bringing me out, and it was extremely intense. So I come back to California. I knew that I was going to need to stop door dashing. It just was burning me out. I was not enjoying it at this point. It was just annoying and unpleasant. That was already in the back of my mind. And then I'm thinking, how am I going to pay for all these business things? And then I just suddenly one day I got this download, and it was, why are you're not getting the payout that you're looking for through this business venture? Like, why are you continuing to do this to yourself? You're burning yourself out. You do not deserve this. This is not the way to abundance. This is the way to continue how you have been. And so I started really considering this and realizing, you know what, you're right. This is not fun for me. I'm not really enjoying the way that I'm doing the business. I was feeling like I had to do that in order to fund my attaining enlightenment venture. You know, that's not the right reason to do something. You're not in the right energy. It's not because you're wanting to do it. It's out of desperation or necessity. I'm just realizing, like, wow, you're right. This isn't what I want to do. I'm so burnt out after everything that happened in October. Koda was very grounding for me. He was like, I felt protected when he was with me, and I felt protected having him in my life. Like, just he was like my best friend, you know? And not having him was very upsetting to myself and my nervous system. Not that I was very needy with him necessarily, but that's just how he made me feel when I had him, you know? And all of those things were just such a transformative experience for me, because I had to really allow myself to feel safe in life, even without diving further into my trust in the universe. I understood his death in a way that I'm so grateful for, that I don't think most people understand their loved ones' deaths in the way that I was able to understand. And so I'm very grateful for that. It didn't necessarily make the pain any easier, but it did shorten the grieving process because I understood it on a different level. And I'm very grateful for the understanding that I received through kind of those attacks on my physical well-being. It made me realize still that I was expecting those types of things. I learned from those experiences how my energetic boundaries were not strong enough Because if you have energetic boundaries that are very strong and don't have leaks in them, you're likely not going to experience things like that in general. It also triggered old, deep-seated wounding about the safety of my physical body, and men especially. Having both of those experiences be men, it triggered old wounding that I thought had been healed, but that was still there. What I did was I ended up closing down my business. I contacted the business coach and I asked two of the things that I was paying her for, which was $300 out of the $500 a month, were courses. And the other thing was her membership. Now, when you sign up for the membership, you're agreeing to 6 months. But when I explained like what had happened, and like I just was trying to explain to her, I just cannot afford this every month. I recognize that I'm still paying, for the courses, and I will still pay those. But she had a thing where you could put the payments on hold for a couple months. So I asked her to put those payments on hold, and I asked her to please let me out of the membership early. And she refused. Even after I told her like everything that I didn't go into all the details, but I did say like there was a series of like very traumatic events in my family, and then I'm not bringing any money for my business. And basically she wouldn't even talk to me directly. She had one of her like assistants or somebody that was working for her talk to me, and they were like, yeah, you're in it for 6 months. And I was like, I understand that, but I think these are extenuating circumstances. I'm still paying for the other things. Please, I need to be let out of this. I cannot afford it. I'm already in poverty. And they were like, no. They were basically like, what do you have that you could sell in order to get the money together? And I was like, okay. It was the final nail in the coffin for me with that. I was like, okay, she's literally does not care about me. I feel like I gave her a really good, okay, I'm still going to pay, let's work this out. Let's make this work for both of us. And her response to me, I was just like, man, this is not an integrity for me, because I put myself in her position and I would never, ever do that to somebody. If they contacted me and was like, this is my situation, I still want to pay you for these things, but I cannot afford, I would be like, you know what, girl, you're good. Don't worry about it. I understand that people are running businesses, but there is a way to do things in integrity. It felt icky to me. It really did. But it was an example of what I don't want to do in business. That's for damn sure. And it reminded me that, okay, this is what we're taught to do in society. And I don't vibe with it. I don't vibe with making money by using other people or being out of integrity or not being authentic to myself. This isn't the way that I want to do business or be in the world. And so it was an example of don't do this. So my guides were basically like, stop paying this, and that might seem like a cop-out to some people, and I really don't care. My guides were like, shut it all down. Shut it all down. Everything's going to be fine. Because I'm in a little bit of a panic mode, because my entire nervous system is just completely out of whack from all the things that just happened. And then on top of it, this is the messaging I'm getting, and I'm just like, what is going on? Everything came crumbling down around me is what happened. It was all blessings in disguise. And I know that now from having this happen so many different times in my life, that it always is a blessing in disguise, but it doesn't feel like that in the moment. It's very stressful. It's very disorienting. It's like, what am I going to do? It's a lot. So I literally shut everything down in my business. I made a deal with the Dolphin Retreat. They were also not accommodating with anything. They took a hardline stance. They milked me for more money than they ever deserved from me. And I was paying them $400 a month. I was still paying them up until like April of this year. So this was all happening at the end of last year. And I was still door dashing. Like, I made a deal with my guides. I was like, I'm just gonna door dash the absolute bare minimum that I can. I have my tax returns coming in a couple of months. I know that I usually get a chunk of money, and once I get that money, I will stop door dashing altogether. Like, I hear you. I know it's time to stop. I just don't see how I can do this without that. Having that money is just peace of mind for my own mind as I'm going into this like very big multiple life changes. So my guys are like, yep, we're good, that's fine. So that's what I did. Okay, I'm going to leave the episode here. The story will continue next week. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.